What you want to do is take a look at the inside of your pot and notice the shape of it. So what you want to do is get the same shape on the outside, match it. So you want to finish up this area right here and make sure that your walls are about the same thickness from bottom to top. So right now, this part right here is about this thick, and this part up here is about that thick. So we want to match that, and we want to match the shape. So just take a look at it and turn it over. Alright, so most of the wheel heads have rings on it, so just kind of align it to the rings. And you can start the wheel really slow. And where it's touching your finger is where it's too far one way. So when it touches your finger, move it away from that. You want your fingers to touch all the way around, or as close as possible. That's good enough. Then you'll take lots of clay, roll this out into a coil. You need 3 pieces. The taller your piece, the thicker and taller your wads need to be. And ideally, when you're throwing your piece, you'll be done the top. You'll only need to finish the bottom maybe inch of your piece. So if this was a taller piece, you just need to finish the bottom part. And everything else should be done. So like rim, everything. If it's not, it's no problem. You can just attach it this direction and rework it a little bit with a sponge, just smooth it out, that kind of thing.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi. Okay, and also, it looks like it's not level. So on your wheel, when you are throwing your piece, make sure that your rim is level. Otherwise, turning it over, it's going to be difficult because it'll be a little bit uneven. When you put the wads on it, hold on to this piece so that it doesn't move while you're putting the wads down. You just use your thumb and press downward, and the clay will kind of smush into it. The clay needs to be about leather hard, which means that when you touch it, it's not tacky and it doesn't have a lot of movement to it. I mean, you can put your fingernail print into it, but it'll remain its shape without distortion when you're like putting pressure on it. Okay, so it's a little bit high right here, which means this part is lower. I'm going to try to level that out. Some fibers in here. Okay, so we'll use, these are your different trimming tools. These right here, and then these are to buff down the surface of the clay, because this clay has a lot of rog in it, which is those little fine particles, and they will make scratch marks on your piece on the surface. Keep your upper arms tight to your body. When you're sitting, then you may want to keep your arms down or against your leg, just so that it's anchored. You'll always be working on the right side of it. Keep your left hand on top of it, just in case it gets caught and pops off. You can keep it down. What we want to do, since the floor is on the thin side, we're not going to do anything more than trim it smooth like that. So hold your tools in your hand. For this one, hold it like that so you have a good grip on it. And then your fingers up here so that you can bevel and angle the cutting edge. Okay, and then this hand on top, you have that thumb to kind of brace on like this. What you're gonna do is trim off that excess clay down at the bottom. So if it's not coming off in ribbons like that, just angle your tool so that it'll catch, you know? So, some of these tools are a little bit duller than others, so just let me know if your tool is not cutting well. So I'm rounding it off, trying to remember what the shape looks like on the inside. And as you come down towards the wheel head and towards the rim, you just lighten up so that your trim will just blend in. Just hold yourself steady where your tool is. The wheel is making the clay come around to meet your tool, so you don't have to like move your tool all around. Just kind of up and down. Okay, stop the wheel. So there are little scratch marks in there. What you'll do to heal those, take a little bit of water on the sponge, just dampen the surface, and then take one of these rubber ribs and just smooth the clay back down into those scratch marks.
We stock 4 different commercial types of clay here. Red clay body.
And then that's basically it. I'm using my finger just to soften this corner right here. Okay. And take it off the wheel. And then just check, see if it's good enough. So there's a line right here. That's because as I'm coming down, I wasn't able to get like all the way down there to lighten up on my tool. So there's a line there.
That's okay. I love it.
All right. So and then she's just check to see if the walls are about the same from down here all the way to the rim. And then put your name on the bottom or your signature or your initial, so that you'll know it's yours. Okay. So this I didn't check. The center of the floor is a little bit higher than the outside edge, and so it's rocking, and you know it's a spinny little pot. So if you don't want the fun times pot, just check for that. So the way you check is you take a straight edge and you hold it on here. If the center is higher, it'll rock. Or you could just look at it, and if it's not rocking, you'll also have like a little dip in the center, so you want this edge higher than your center so that it doesn't spin when it's right side up. Let's see if that's back on. We might have to recenter this. And then just remove the center part, just so that it's just a tad lower than your outside. Just be careful that you don't like trim a hole into the bottom of your pot. That can happen.
It's like a fake foot.
What?
It's like a fake foot.
Alright. So check again. It's not rocking.
How would you know if you are trying to find?
Oh, okay. So sometimes
You can feel it.
you can feel it, you can hear it.
Oh.
If you tap it and it's a thuddy sound, then it's safe. As it gets thinner, it'll have a higher pitched sound. So as you're tapping it, and then also it'll start to kind of move when you're trimming.
That's what I thought.
Like it'll kind of sink down a little bit. Of course, if your clay is soft, that'll sink also. Doesn't mean that it's thin or anything. Okay, so for this one, this is beyond dry for trimming. That's okay. All right, we're just gonna dip it in here for a sec. And then I'm gonna show you this other tool that is floating around. That is awesome. It's called the Giffen Grip. It's just a tool for trimming. This one in this bag is, it'll float from this studio to other studios, so you might have to hunt around for it. This will fit onto this type of wheel, the Whisper wheel. This, I believe it's set to that measurement. And there's two plates. So the bottom plate here has the tracks that the cushions will run on. So they have to all be on the same track in order for it to be centered. When you add the cushion, all of them, the top plate has to match the bottom plate to the right side. So, as you can see. So right here, over. So that's the opening right here. Top plate and bottom plate has to match right there. That's where you'll put this. This one has the little holes on it for the post, for taller pieces. So you can flip this around and use the bottom post for like shallow pieces like this, or plates. So put all of the cushions in at the same time so that they're all riding on the same track. So you'll hold on to the top plate and gently start your pedal, and that'll come in. Your posts, there'll be different size posts. Get the shortest one that you can get away with. That'll hold on to your pot without, without it coming off. So the taller the posts, the more likely it'll twist a little bit. So go for the shortest one that you can get away with. Now, like this. Hold on to your top plate, and we'll just come and true it up for you. Yeah. And then you can take it out and you check it and put it back on without a whole lot of trouble. So this one, super wet. Now, be careful when you're trimming really dry pieces. When it's beyond leather hard, it is more brittle. So if you really tighten this up, it might crunch your piece, break it. I'll try this tool. It's a scraper. These metal ones are scrapers. Yeah, that's not bad. Again, you're working on the right side of your tool, on the pot. So imagine this as your clock face. Center to 3 o'clock is where you want the line to be. I'm using both my hands on the tool just to make sure it's nice and stiff. If you start getting like a beveling thing happen, that just means that you're not holding the tool tight enough. So then just try out different tools. The super dry piece, it's going to come off in more like dust than in ribbons, more like flakes. There's not but so much you can do. Ah, okay, here we go. So just scraping it away. So this tool, it's a bit of a mess, but I like the wheel to be going quick enough that when the shavings hit the wheel head, it'll fly off a little bit. Because if you go too slow and you catch a wobble, you're gonna follow that wobble. So go quick enough so that you can ignore any kind of wobble and you can feel it a little bit better.
Does that mean it'll chop off the wobble?
Yeah, because it'll be going around too quick to.
Looks like it's doing what? Like,
What?
is that happening? It looks like it's starting to.
Yeah, I feel like.
Does that happen when you trim and you just then correct?
Yeah.
Or is it from the get-go? It's usually just.
So this is dry, so it's not going to hold on as well.
Okay.
It doesn't grip as well as like a wetter piece. So just stop, check it.
Do you wet in the? You wet.
Yeah,
the
all
bottom,
right.
not the top, right?
Just the bottom. Yeah. So I wet it again. The problem with wetting this clay when it's bone dry is that it breaks down the clay particle and it might crack your pot. So don't do it too much, especially on thinner pieces.
They're so good. Like right there. That's like holes.
Check that again.
The bottom is
Here, I'm going to show you what this looks like around the other way. So I'm going to switch this around so I can get down there a little bit further. So these cushions on the bottom, and then just take these things off.
Are you going to be able to put a foot on that, or is it too thin?
It's dry, so, but I'm going to try because it does have enough thickness on the floor to do that.
I need to pay attention. I'm so bad at that.
All right, so when you use this, you want it tight enough that it doesn't crunch, but tight enough so that if you turn this, you can turn the wheel head, but not too tight that you crunch your piece. Just right.
Sounds like I'm not going to be using any of my dry pieces. They're just going to go straight in. Not sure guys.
So do you have a dry piece from last week, or should you be doing this?
Yeah, give it a try. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like my token piece.
So that's like this area and
You don't have to get rid of everything.
And there's only another month and a half.
Huh?
We have so much more time.
Yeah, we do. All right, so I am coming down towards the wheel head, towards the rim, and as I come down, I'm just gonna lighten up so they don't have that line. Just want to blend it into the rest of my pot. Okay, it's for the inside. Normally with this dryness, you can use the loop tool and you'll just kind of mark the inside part of your foot. This whole area is called your foot. So you'll mark or carve away a gully to get the inside. The size or width of your foot depends on you, really. You can make this part right here smaller or wider. But that's the part that's going to be touching the surface of your tables and stuff, so just be aware. Okay, and then you're going to remove all that clay. I would suggest just making grooves one at a time, going in towards center. So that'll remove this clay right here. And if you can go deep enough, if your floor is thick enough, you can go deep enough so that you can glaze this area and just have this part, the clay.
If it's thick, are you not able to usually glaze it? Is that the problem?
No,
You can glaze anything.
You can glaze anything. Just the floor has to be free of glaze so that it doesn't stick to the wheel, to the shelves. But I like, it's more finished looking, I think, if you can glaze a little bit on the bottom, but not the foot, so that it'll just rest there. Right now, I'm starting from the outside edge here and then working my way in to remove some more of that excess clay. Then you could use one of these tools to clean it up. If you don't like the rings, you can keep the rings, it's fine. Hold this tool right here, up vertical to clean the inside wall of your foot. And then maybe wet it a little bit on the surface to smooth it off. Let it, and then get this tool and smooth it out. Smooth out this edge. Smooth this edge off. And since it's soft with the water that you just added, you just use your fingers to soften this corner, these little corners. And when you're done, you just check it. You could, if it was softer, you could trim it more. I'm just afraid of
No, that's okay.
trimming it too much. So, and then this tool is great because you can turn it right side up and just, like there's little sharp edges. So any sharp edges, the glaze is going to pull away from it when you go into the firing. So what you might want to do is just soften a little bit of that. I'm just going to shave it just a teeny bit.
You're done, but when do you, that sounds like you can just keep kind of
Going and going and going. When do you know? Well,
when you're pleased, I guess.
that's what I'm saying, yeah. When you're happy with your form. But always check just to make sure you're not going like too thin.
So how often, like, the chances of that being fired, right, after this, like, it won't crack?
It
Or-
shouldn't.
It shouldn't,
It
but you
shouldn't.
never know?
No, you will know.
Okay.
You will know. We worked with this pretty quickly. So the more you work with it and the more water you add to it, the more it's going to break down your clay. So it will crack. The other thing to be aware of is the floor. When you're on your wheel and forming your piece, if you don't compress this area right here before you take it off, that also might crack because when you're doing your pulls, you're compressing the wall all the way up. If you don't compress the floor, it has a different density and it'll dry at a different rate and then it'll crack. So whenever you form your piece and you're done, just go back down in there and compress that floor one more time. Make sure the floor is nice and tight, and that'll help prevent the crack. So when it comes out of the kiln, if it cracks, you'll know why. Okay, that's that.
Yay.